is up, everybody? Welcome to Dope and Dharma. I, of course, am the Dharma Guy, and I'm always joined with the Dope Doctor. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm swell. How are you?
I am a swell also.
Yeah, I think we were just discussing how long of a week it's been, and it's only Tuesday.
Yes,
For those
very
of you who are
cansado.
watching live, very
Muy cansado.
cansado. Sí, sí.
Necesito más
Uh,
el
uh, Yo
agua.
también. I'm cansado as well. Like I said, it's been a long week, man. It's only Tuesday. Anyways, I digress. Welcome everybody. It is a day. I don't know if it's good or bad for you wherever you're at. I know for me there's some cloud cover. We've been getting it's Florida, man. So we have our summer thunderstorms every day now, and it's pretty ridiculous outside. And in between those thunderstorms is unbearably hot weather for a lot of us. Although we did just have a hurricane not too long ago. Thankfully, we're far enough inland where it didn't really impact us too much. But for those of you on the West Coast that might have been impacted, hopefully things are picking up for you now and you're ready for the rest of the season. Supposedly it's going to be a busy season, so we'll see.
Yeah, we got
Um,
worse weather over here in New Smyrna Beach. We got worse weather like the day after, and the day after
yeah,
that, then on
yeah,
hurricane. Hurricane
yeah,
day was
same,
beautiful.
yeah, same here, man. It was like, yeah, we had hurricanes and stuff like that. Had no clue. It was like a bright, sunshiny day, and then
Beautiful day.
and the days following that were just horrible, horrible storms with like hail and all sorts of stuff. Man, it was pretty
Yeah,
bad.
that was weird.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, there we are. I heard you.
Yeah, you heard me twice. I was
Oh
sharing
yeah,
it on Facebook.
yeah.
Speaking of Facebook, for those of you watching live, that's where you're watching us, and that is facebook.com/WPSN99. That's where you can catch us live on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock if you're watching Dharma Time, or Fridays at 12 o'clock if you want to watch us on the couch live. And if you want to help out and contribute to what we do when we're not doing this, right behind them, you can kind of see it. It's the Now Matters More Foundation. You can go to nowmattersmore.org. You can read about us. You can smash the donate button, or you can fill out an application if you or somebody you know is struggling with the disease of addiction and just kind of doesn't know what to do or where to turn. That's where we come in. You can also call us at 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters, but preferably not right now because we're kind of busy doing the show. But fill out the application instead. Anyways, oh yeah, and of course, follow us on social media. I am at the Dharma Guy. He is at the Dope Doctor. We are at WPSN99. And while you're at it, check out at Now Matters More. I think that's all the housekeeping we got, man. Let's get started. So, yeah, man. So there's a topic that kind of, as I was explaining to you prior to coming on air, it's been swirling around in my head for a while. Haven't really talked about it much. Haven't started up dialogue, but it's been on my mind and it's been prevalent. And I figured, it would make a good show topic because either A, it's going to impact some people, or B, they're going to get something from it. So
Huh?
why not? And that topic, for anybody who can read the title, of course, is selfish. Let's talk about selfishness, man. And what I mean by that is
We're
I
not going to
think
talk
that
about that just because you want to.
exactly, it's all about me. Um, no, I think that selfish. There's a weird thing about selfish, right? In certain instances, when it comes to selfishness, it's needed and required, right? Like, because at the end of the day, if we're going to survive, we do have to, take for ourselves at some point. So, uh, if we're going to live, at some point, we do have to be all about us. However, I think that we take that from the survival part to a different degree it doesn't need to go to in life. And I don't think a lot of people realize it, if I'm honest with you, man. And that's what I've been noticing. Is I've been noticing a lot of people just don't really understand or realize when they're being selfish. And that fact that their selfishness could potentially be one of the things that's preventing them from actually getting the things that they want, right? Like there was an old adage in business a lot of times, and that is help others get what they want, and you'll get what you want, right? And
Yeah.
it sounds counterintuitive for a lot of people because we instantly think, well, if I want what I want, I need to focus on getting what I want. But what you don't realize is kind of like that whole it takes a village type of idea, meaning, if all I'm doing is thinking about myself and getting what I want, then I've got the effort and the benefit of that one person working really hard. But if I help a bunch of other people get what they want, then they feel more inclined to help me get what I want. And so if I'm helping, let's say, 10 people get what they want, and I'm being of service to those 10 different people, well, now if they're going to turn around and help me get what I want, now that's 11 people's effort that I'm getting as opposed to just a one person's effort.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think a lot of people think that way. I think that we're in a society now where it's a lot more self-centered, a lot more, I need to get mine. which I can respect and understand. Absolutely. And for some people that might work. I just don't think for the majority of people that is going to work, and I definitely don't think it works in every situation. If we're all out there trying to hunt the same deer for food, or if we're all out trying to go get the same, whatever from the grocery store or something like that, then yeah, I think in that instance, it helps, right? Like if there's only a finite amount of things in there, then yeah, you're gonna have to go get yours. But very few places in life is that true, especially in today's world, right? Like things like happiness, there's no finite amount of that. It's infinite, you know. Things like feeling fulfilled. That's not a finite amount. We can both feel fulfilled, and there's plenty of room for everybody else. My fulfillment doesn't take away from yours, and so I guess in that instance, it's not called for, and I think that's where people kind of get it confused, right? And I'm talking about like relationships. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about even in business in certain areas, philanthropic work. I just because I hear a lot of people, and so much of what I hear posted or see posted on like social media or hear people talking about, it's all about what I want, what I need, what I'm gonna get,
Right.
and very little is what I'm offering to other people, right? And so like with my own kids even, I talk to them, and some of my kids now are getting old enough to the point where they're starting to look into the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever. They're looking into a partner, a spouse of some sort. And one of the things I've tried to get them to understand, along with many other people I've talked to over the years, and that is, you know, instead of spending all your time looking for the right person, you should spend some time trying to be the right person. And that it doesn't at face value it doesn't sound like it, but that's a pretty profound thing in today's world because we do spend so much time on what we want, and we don't spend a lot of time thinking about what we actually offer to get what we want. Like, why is somebody going to give that to us? Why is I want this person in my life. Well, why was that person, if they're so great, and a lot of other people might want that person, well then why would they want me? Or if I want this job, if I want to make this much money, what value am I bringing to get that money? Or am I just expecting to show up and they're going to give it to me because I'm special because my mom told me I was? And I think that's kind of where I'm getting at right here. Real quick, oh, see, Simon just made a very interesting comment, and his comment was, why would they realize it? They're only focusing on themselves or their needs.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. I think you're 100% right. Is because they're so focused on themselves, they don't realize that they're being selfish. And I think that in a society where you know, this obviously could be a very deep rabbit hole, and I don't know how far we're going to go down it, but
Very.
hey, let's see. But I do believe that there's multifacets to it, right? Like, for instance, I watched a show. I think it was last night. I was watching a show, and they were discussing the relatively recent concept of everybody gets a trophy, right? We joke about everybody gets an orange slice or whatever, and while I was watching it, they were handing all these kids trophies, and it was a lot of the moms talking about how they want their kids to feel special and have a trophy, and they were talking about how good their kid feels when they get it. And I agree 100%, man. Like, as a father, dude, when you see their little kids' faces light up when they got a trophy, it's priceless. It really is. It's such an amazing moment, right? But the other half of that, what they were talking about, is that moment comes at a cost because you're not teaching them reality. You're not teaching them how to lose and how to improve and get better. You're teaching them that they're already good enough as they are, right? Here's your 17th place trophy. Well, the problem with that is in life we don't give out 17th place trophies. You might have gotten one in Little League, but you're not getting one in life. If somebody's hiring somebody and they've got 5 positions to fill, they're not going to make it to number 17. They're going to take the top 5. And if you're not in that top 5, you just weren't good enough. And that's a hard thing for people to hear because we all have this idea with this selfishness that we are good enough and we deserve everything. I think there's a difference between deserving, love and affection and just the basic human things. Yes, I think everybody deserves those. But not everybody deserves the job that they want. Not everybody deserves to be the best of whatever it might be. Not everybody deserves that Mercedes out there. I'm sorry. And I think that for whatever reason, we're in a time where that's like a hard thing to hear, right? It's a hard thing to hear. And then if you say that, you're somehow, an asshole. by saying that. Like, how dare you? You know. So I don't know where we've got, and that's what I mean by the selfish. You know, our feelings are so much more important than reality sometimes. And so for me, I guess that's where this conversation is going to go today. It's just this concept. So, real quick before you offer your insight, man, Marissa said 17th place trophies used to be an insult and made you want to do better. Now it's a great thing to some people. Yeah, I agree, and I think that's part of the problem, man. Is we've 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 I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now is we've promoted
Devalue.
we've
We devalue.
promoted this idea of everybody's good enough as you are. You don't need to improve. You don't need to get better. And
Which,
if you
yeah.
don't get what you want, well then they obviously don't. You know, they're at fault
Well,
somehow. It's never us.
well,
Go ahead.
let's dig into that a little bit because I think there's a couple things there to unpack. Number
Yeah,
one, there's a difference between playing sports for fun and playing sports to compete and it become possibly a career for you. And so I think that
sure,
the individuals that are playing sports with the hopes and dreams of it becoming a career, they need the complete honesty, they need the competition,
sure,
they need to lose, they need all of that, right? Whereas
sure.
people just playing it for fun, which is I think what a lot of the people that push this kind of conversation, they're not professional athletes. I don't think you'll see a lot of coaches or professional athletes push the participation trophy thing.
Sure.
Those people are the ones, they're just playing because they're kids and they're having fun. Yeah, that's a different league. But I think
Right.
that's why Trinity we have those special leagues nowadays. So
Sure.
when I was a kid, the league that I played on for like baseball and stuff like that, right? It was just a community league, right?
Right.
There are traveling pre-pro leagues because when I was on a swimming team, that swim team was a future. Like if you wanted to go into the Olympics, you get
Right.
on this particular swim team and go. Two people off of my swim team ended up being on the Olympics. So
Sure.
so that was a different dynamic, right?
Right. Yes, of
So
course.
so we knew that then, and I think that even the way you're speaking now, we should understand that maybe on these leagues, participation trophies might be all right because all you're trying to do is you just don't want the kid to play inside too long. You want them to go outside and
Sure.
interact with kids, and it's okay if they're picking their nose or picking flowers in the outfield instead of actually waiting for the ball or listening to anything, right? And the coaches, it's okay that the coaches, a soccer mom, that is
Right.
being a coach because nobody else is doing it that day. That's fine, but for the team, if you wanted to be a Tiger Woods, if you wanted to be a Michael Jordan, if that is the aspiration you have, that will hurt you. You absolutely need to do something different. So I think we need to differentiate that. And I think there was something else that you said that was pretty important. You said my fulfillment has nothing to do with your fulfillment or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think if my fulfillment somehow takes away from yours, then it's not sustainable. You know what I mean? In other words, my fulfillment has to not come like if my sustainable is dependent. If my fulfillment depends on taking away from your fulfillment, that's not sustainable because that's not always going to happen. That
Right.
means it's different. It's philosophically based on a victory or something that involves other factors. But if I allow my fulfillment to be based on you can have fulfillment and I can have fulfillment, that's a little bit more sustainable. That
Of
involves no
course.
winners, no losers, and that means the factors that are actually fulfilling me are based on my perception of it rather than I have to be victorious
Right.
over you. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's what came out to me when you were speaking.
Yeah. Well, I think that. So, like talking about the trophy thing, right? When I was a kid, they started doing some of this stuff, kind of in the was it early to mid '80s, and it really kind of came to fruition in the late '80s and in the early '90s. And that was that whole self-esteem movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where because I remember getting Super Kid awards and stuff, and they really pushed that self-esteem because I think the running philosophy that they had was if they made you believe that you were good enough, then you would try to achieve more. That was essentially the
Right.
basis of that. Um, and while I think that there was some truth to it for sure, I think it's also over the years, if you really look into it, I think it's kind of been debunked in certain areas as well, and I think that's like it's gone too far. And what I mean by that is like even my own kids now, like I struggle with my own kids. I'm trying to teach my children the respect for deadlines and earning a grade, right? And I use that term very specifically. That grade wasn't given to you. That's what you earned.
Yes.
It's hard for them to figure that out. And what I'm seeing in today's schooling even is like when I was told in school, hey, we have an assignment due on the 12th. If I didn't get the assignment turned in by the 12th, it was either zero and I just missed a deadline, or they would give me a couple days and they would give me like half credit. That was it. But my kids now, like there is no such thing as deadlines for a lot of them. It's like they'll be able to go back and work on something and get full credit for something that should have been done like 5 months ago. You know, it's weird to me because you're not teaching them. What you're teaching them is everything is flexible. And while that feels good, that's just not reality. It's not the truth. I remember when I worked at an actual job back in the day, there was expectations of getting this stuff done by this time. I couldn't come to them like, oh, well, I got some of it done, and they'd be, okay, well, thanks, man. Clock out and head home. I'll see you tomorrow. That's not how it worked. It had to be done. There was deadlines that had to be made. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Um, like my mortgage company, I can't call them and tell them, hey, I got you some of the money. I tried, but this is all I could come up with. Like, it's not teaching them the finite, deadlines, things of that nature. And it has given them the sense of what I want and what I feel supersedes everything. And I think that that's where the selfishness is starting to kind of be a problem right now. You know, is it great for self-esteem? Sure. Like, well, there's a study that came out not too long ago. I don't remember the name of it. I can't quote it, but I know the consensus of it, and that was essentially our grades and our intelligence, whatever, in schooling stayed the same or went down. But when you asked them how they felt about what they're doing, it went up. So, like, in other words, we're in America, we're getting the same or dumber, but we feel more proud and smarter of what we're doing. So, like, that's a wrong direction to go in, I think. In other words, we're doing less, but we feel like we're doing more. And I think that seeps into so many different areas of our lives, right? Like if you're trying to be in a relationship, it's not about what you can contribute to that relationship or how you can help that other person. It's, well, what can you do for me? If it's about a job, it's not what can I do to earn this job. It's, well, how much are you going to pay me? Well, or it's like it's all those things, and I think that some of them just don't even realize it. You're being selfish in a way that's detrimental to you, but you're not even aware that you're selfish because you're so convinced that it's them. It can't be you because your self-esteem is so high. And so that's, I guess, if I'm whittling it down to the source, I think that's part of the source. Is I think that the self-esteem movement that happened in the 80s and 90s kind of backfired a little bit because the kids that were 80s and 90s are now being the adults who are starting to struggle with some of this and not realizing that they're selfish. I see a couple pretty long comments. Let me start with Simon. I'll put it up here real quick. Simon says, coming from a different kind of achievement, some activities are worthy of reward, and everyone gets some version of a medal or belt. Not everyone runs 100 miles, but a 5K is usually a little more accessible. I agree. Then Marissa, let me put this up there. Marissa says, people also get participation trophies literally just for showing up, too. I see it a lot with people living with disabilities. That's why I overdo it, because I want to make sure I earn it and I don't win anything just for sitting there and showing up.
Right
And
on.
then Simon followed up his previous comment with, going back to last week's parenting talk, we could teach from our discussion example, particularly if working at home, rework ethic. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's not just all that. Um, it's the job. It's our what we're doing out in life. It's
Right.
relationships. It's all that. Like even my own kids. I have kids now. My son. My older son. He was looking for somebody in his life, and he had this list of things that he wanted in a spouse. I was like, okay, well, some of those things are awesome. So, but that person that you're talking about right now, that's a pretty cool person. That's a lot of achievements that person has. That's a pretty high level of
Oh,
desirability that individual has, right? So in other words, you're not the only person going after that mold of a person. So what is it that's going to separate you from everybody else that person could choose from? And that's what I was trying to get him to see. I was like, dude, you at the time, I was like, you're not really pushing forward your education. You don't really have a good career or anything right now. Like, other words, you don't have a lot of the things that individual is going to want. So what you're asking for that person to do is to come down to be with you when they could be with all these other people. Like, and it took him a minute to even register that, because his whole life he's been told, he deserves the world and he's good enough the way he is. And it's like, well, as a human being, yeah, you're always good enough who you are, but you might not be good enough for the accolades that you're asking for. Those things have to be earned. And I think that's a problem right now. I really do. I think a lot of people struggle and they don't realize that that's why they're struggling.
Yeah, and I think, the problem with selfishness, in my view, is that it breeds entitlement. And so,
Yeah.
we don't want, does anybody out there like entitled people? Does
No.
anybody say, hey, I'm going to give you the attributes I'm seeking for in a partner or an employee is I would like them to have a sense of entitlement. Does anybody put that on the list? Yet, we are training people to be entitled or to feel entitled. And I think we should do the exact opposite. We love humility. I think humility is something that everybody agrees with. We like people to be humble.
Yep.
But on top of that, we should also like people to feel prideful. And we turn prideful into a negative thing because it has a negative connotation and a piece to it, but it has a real positive attachment to it as well, right? But we all tend to, or depending on what side you're on, of that day, you either say, oh, pride is a bad thing or pride is a good thing. Whereas entitlement is always a bad thing. Selfishness is always a bad thing. You know what I mean? Now, wait, let me back up. Self-centeredness is always a bad thing. Selfishness is not always a bad thing. And I think this is where we get into this game again. So there's certain words like selfish or pride that there's a time in your life where it's good to be that. And there's a time in your life where it's bad to be that. So I think that the adults in the room, and just because someone's an adult doesn't mean they're the adult in the room, but the adults in the room should always stay focused on how to better teach humility, how to better teach compassion, and how to better teach loss. Because we're going to have a lot of losses in our life, a lot of failures or things that people perceive as a failure in life. But we've said it tons and tons of times on this show. Failures are lessons. That is when you learn things. I don't know anybody who's ever played any sport or has done anything and hates losing, by the way. Yet failures taught them a lot more than the victories did. Victories don't really teach you much. When you win and you win and win, you don't learn a lot. I mean, I always joke that
feels good, but you don't learn anything.
I'm a very lucky person. I've always been very lucky. Whatever I wanted, I got. I sought it out, I got it. It was always very easy. As troubled as I can make it look, as life could have been, for some reason, there was like always a light shining on me that allowed. They gave me what I was looking for. It was weird. So people that are close to me always joke, "Oh, the golden boy," because I just always got it. But it doesn't mean I didn't put hard work into it. I also had luck, so I had hard work and luck, a lot of luck attached to it. But you have to be humble about that. You have to appreciate that. No, this wasn't all just my doing. I mean, there's a lot of fortunate events that happen. The person who got hit by a tornado, they didn't put their house in the tornado's path. That tornado, it jumps houses sometimes. And it misses the next house and then it hits the next one. And that happens to a lot of us. But if you feel like that should never happen to me, and it can never happen to me, and that should happen to that person, that's okay that it happens to that person, but never me. And you don't appreciate that, then you become somebody that's very difficult to be around, and not so attractive as a person. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking about what people want, like they say, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Well, somebody's got to be broke, bro. I mean, seriously, I'm sorry, but we're in a capitalist society, and we can debate whether that's good or not. That's not even here or there. But the point is in this current society where we currently live, somebody's got to be broke. So I used to joke about, we have to have the person that's driving next to us with the muffler, tied up by a wire, so that you could feel good in your car. Whatever it is. You need to be able to look at someone else's car and go, at least I'm in this car. And then that person in that car can look over and sees the person on the bicycle and go, well, at least I'm not on a bicycle. At least
I got a car.
Yeah, at least I have air conditioning right now. That person's, because
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing to watch, right? You see somebody like in their Publix gear, they're going to go work at the supermarket, and they're riding a bicycle in this summer heat here in Florida, and you're thinking,
Yeah.
wow, that's that's good for that person. That person, even though they have to ride on a bicycle or walk to work or get on a bus to go to work, they go to work. And I,
Yeah.
I always look at that and go like, man, that's awesome. Instead of
Yeah.
I always admire that person that's doing it instead of looking down on them. And I think it's important to admire that kind of person because you know what it takes. You know that level of dedication is severe. And there's a lot of people out there that if their car doesn't work that day, they're not going to work that day. They're calling in and says, I can't go. I got to get my car fixed. They're not walking. They're not riding a bike. They're not getting on public transportation. They don't even know where the bus stop is. So that's not happening.
Well, I think that's that's part of it, right? Like those things should be respected and admired, but they're
Sure.
sadly they're not really on a large scale these days, right? We have these unrealistic expectations as people, and some of that is because we do look at like social media, right? And we see people are always posting their best selves, or fake selves, right? There's a whole bunch of people out who fake it completely. Um, and then we all seem to think that like, well, I should have that too. Like I should also be a millionaire, or I should also be able to, travel the
Don't
world and do
say
all
it.
these other
Don't
things.
say it. Oh, I thought you were
Uh,
going to get on me about South Beach again,
oh
like you did
yeah,
last night on the show.
we should all be on selfie, but what they don't want to see is all the hard work and effort that got to it.
Amen.
Like that's the thing is everybody wants that end, whatever it might be, that nugget of greatness, but they don't want to do the work to get to it, and they feel that they just shouldn't have to. And that to me is the highest form of selfishness. Is for some reason I should be able to get where you worked your ass off for not doing anything. And that's where also the entitlement thing that you start to talk about too. And I think that's dangerous, man. I think that the more people that succumb to that thought process, the further down our society starts to go. And what will pull it out, I don't know, other than like you said, teaching the newer generations to have humility and things of that nature. But yeah, it's bothersome and it's hard, especially going back to like last week when we were talking about raising kids. It's difficult to raise my kid. How in the hell am I supposed to teach my kids the importance of deadlines and things of that nature when their teachers are like, "Oh, don't worry about it. You can work on it later." It's like, no, there's no accountability here. Like they need to earn that. And that's why like my kids will come to me, well, they gave me this. No, they didn't give you anything. You earned that grade either by doing your work or not doing your work.
Right.
And society itself, like like I said, never in a million years that I thought I would see signs being taken seriously about, hey, I'm offended. You need to change your mind, or you need to change your. Like, no, it's not about you. Like you are not the center of the universe. You're not. You're just a drop in the ocean. That's all you are. But we have this selfishness where it's all about me, 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 me. What I want is somehow more important or supersedes reality,
And,
and I think
and
that that's a problem. Go
in
ahead.
reality, we're only talking about our individual tribe, right? Because when you're in your individual tribe, that you might actually believe, oh, we share within our tribe, you know, yeah, but only within your tribe, because your tribe doesn't share with other tribes, and so that's the thing, right? And I'm not saying it in the Native American sense of Native Americans don't get all upset. Plus, I got 14% of it, so I was kidding. No, what I'm saying is everybody has their little people, right? My people. Everybody has their
Yeah,
my people.
yeah,
Well, if you are truly a believer in loving others, then you wouldn't have them, my people. We're all your people.
yeah.
So how can you even open your mouth to separate? To where does that line get drawn where you feel you're so selfish that you feel a sense of strength from saying my people? Well, we're all your people. But I
Exactly.
do it too, Trinity. I say my people, but I don't go out there and project that I love everybody equally because I don't. And I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think we do. And if you're out there and you're watching this or listening to it and you love everybody equally, God bless you, man. I'm
right.
happy for you. I'm not the one. I'm not that person, but at least I'm honest about it. I
Yeah,
mean, some people bother me and some people I get enjoyment from. That's just I feel like I'm a normal human being in that. Now, even though
yeah,
we're not allowed to say it and we're not supposed to say it, it's true. Now that doesn't mean you can't come across that line because it's not like there's a hard wall where you can't come across.
right.
You can get granted permission, not because I'm better than, but just because I might get to know you differently. And what I've learned about myself is that I've changed my mind about people based on more
Yeah.
knowledge about them. And so what that tells me is that if somebody may take issue with me, they just need to know more about me, so at least they can make a judgment. Now, if they know more about me and still dislike me or don't like what I'm doing, then that's fine, because that just means we're just not going to connect. But typically, it's about information. It's just like education in school, right? The more you know, the more you're able to communicate in different groups, right? And every group has a way they communicate. And so sometimes you don't know that until you go into another group of people and they're communicating, and you don't get it. Remember, I told you when I was working on that IT thing, we were developing some software, and I'm definitely not software related, right? So I go into that part of our building, and I'm trying to talk to these guys, and I take them to a race. They all go, "Wow, I'd love to go to a NASCAR race." I said, "Oh, I'll take you on." I got all three of them. They're all IT guys. I'm in the car. The whole ride there, the conversation's trending. I knew nothing about what they were saying the whole time, and I felt like such an outcast, because I was like, "The hell are you guys even?" Their humor was different. Their jokes were different. The things that they talked about were different, and so I think what we forget is we are all part of whether it be a small little tribe or a huge one, we're all part of a little grouping of people that think similarly. So let's stop acting like everybody has to get us and understand us. No. You just work on you understanding everybody else, and then you wouldn't care if you're needed or accepted or liked or whatever. That's not even necessary for your personal fulfillment. Stop being so selfish that you got to be happy and that you got to be okay with it, and everybody's got to be okay with you. No, we don't. I don't have to be okay with you. And I definitely don't have to be okay with you just because you're Latino. Because I've gotten a lot of that. I've gotten a lot of Latinos going, you know how we are. They'll tell me in Spanish, and they'll talk to me, and they'll think I should be able to get a discount because, or I should be treated special because. And I'll be like, no, hermano, man. I'm sorry, bro, but that's not the way it is. I'm not going to give you something special just because you're Latino. Where's that come from? You got a sense of entitlement that I got to treat you differently just because we come from the same motherland somewhere way back in the day? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you kind of touched on the bigger picture there as well, right? Like another part of selfishness is this idea that everybody else has to live up to our ideals or the things that we think are right or wrong, right? Like for a longest time, the bullies, if you will, were for lack of a better term, the
The
conservatives in
hats.
life,
The
right?
hats.
Sure, they were the bullies, and they were, they were anti this and anti that, and they made everybody feel less than, whatever. But then the pendulum kind of swung a little bit, and then you had this
A lot of
woke
it.
movement. Yeah, then you had this woke movement that's happening. And while I think that there was definitely a need for some wokeness for sure, because I think there's a lot of French communities that were hurt badly for that. But now it's gone to the other side. But the messed up part is they don't realize that they're now being the selfish ones. They're now being the bullies. Because what they're saying when they say we accept people, we're tolerant. No, you're not. You're tolerant and accepting of those who believe the way you believe. And if they don't believe the way you believe, then you think they're either A, bad, or you B, need to change their mind. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's being selfish.
Yeah.
You're selfish thinking that your way is the only way to think and anything else is less than.
Right.
No.
Right.
It's okay for us all to coexist, man. If this dude over here, in XYZ, Timbuktu thinks that he's a homophobe, okay. I don't agree with that. I don't think you should be, but you're allowed to be that. I don't
Yeah.
need to change you. I don't need to change your mind for that. Or if you over here think that the whole world should be gay, okay, you're allowed to think that. I don't agree with you, but you're allowed to think that. And that's what I mean is we're in this weird selfish moment right now where everybody thinks that we all got to be the same essentially. Like we all have to think the same, and you're not allowed to think differently than I do. If you do, then you're bad, or I need to change you. Like stop being so selfish. Stop thinking that everybody in the world's purpose in life is to live up to your expectations, because you don't like that. At some point in your life, somebody expected something from you, and you let them down, and you didn't like the way that felt. But yet you're going around doing it to everybody else, and that's what I mean. Is just this selfishness. I don't think people realize that's causing a lot more problems than they're aware of.
Well, in today's society, it's almost like and we've also talked about this before all this wokeness training, because we've been on the air together now, what, 10 years,
Yeah.
and I remember us having a conversation based on like I'm currently experiencing all these pains, right, in my neck and everything like that.
Right.
So it's almost like if I would start talking about my pain, then somebody else goes, well, yeah, but I got this and I had this surgery, and then you start comparing illnesses or surgeries
Right.
or right. We like to compare to each
Yeah.
other, like each other's pain, right? And so I think we're kind of doing that now. It's like, well, yes, you may have struggles in your life, but not as much as me because I'm a Latino, so my struggles are bigger than
Yeah.
yours. Or something of that variation. That was real funny because
Yeah.
the other day, my daughter's watching this show, and I have no idea what it is. Somebody out there might know what it is. My youngest daughter Zoe was watching this show, and it was a part of it where it was like a wokeness part of the show, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and they're like doing a movement, like all these young kids are getting together, they're getting ready to go do what do you call it, a protest, and the white girl in the room, she ends up being a Jewish girl, but I didn't know that at the time. She's just a white girl, and she said something, and they were like, "Well, wait a minute, what are you talking about?" And she was like, "Well, we're talking about getting safe spaces. I think I need a safe space too." They go, "What do you need a safe space for?" So this black guy's looking at her. He goes, "What do you need a safe space for?" And she's going, "Well, because I need." And he's thinking, I'm sorry, it's not the Jewish girl. It's the regular. It's a Latina girl. I'm messing this all up. So he goes, "What do you need a safe space for?" "Oh, it's because you're a Latina sister. Yeah. Latinos need there too." She goes, "No, not because I'm a Latina, because I'm a conservative woman." And he goes, "What? What did you just say?" He goes, "Well, I need a safe space to say what I say because I'm a conservative woman, and conservative women, aren't able to speak up."
Right.
And he goes, "Get that out of here. You need to get out of here," and stuff like that. So then the other one spoke up, and the other one's a Jewish white girl. She goes, "Yeah, and I need a safe space because," and they go, "What do you need it for?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jewish person." And you go, and so the black guy's like, "You don't need that." And they go, uh, you everywhere is safe for you." And they go, "No, it's not safe for me." They go, "What's the difference? I need a safe space. You need a safe space. We all should be safe to be able to speak our minds and to be who we are, and that's what we should be able to get." And then so he goes, "Well, there's a big difference." She goes, "What's the difference?" He goes, "Slavery." And she goes, and what she did not say, which is a surprise that the writers didn't put this in, no, Jews were enslaved as well for
Every
very,
culture
very,
has been
very many
enslaved at
years.
some point.
So the point is that at least they were having that discussion,
Right.
and I'm sitting there and I'm intrigued and going like, wow, that was pretty brave. Whoever wrote
Right.
that show, and I don't know what it is, but at least they showed no. So white conservative women maybe feel very unsafe right now. Christian straight white males may feel very unsafe right now. Black people have felt unsafe for a very long time. Everybody has a level of feeling unsafe based on
Yeah.
where they're at,
Yeah.
what city you're in, what county you're in,
Yeah.
what situation you're in, what job you're in. I mean, come on, everybody can go to a community where you feel very unsafe. Every single one of us. There's
Yep.
nobody's different in that.
Simon put up a really good question, I think. Let me put it up on the screen. He says, where do you draw the line from someone having negative thoughts about others, up to physically affecting that other, either through restrictions or violence, etc.? We collectively have to be aware that these things escalate.
I agree.
Um, I agree. I agree with the premise. But the idea that I think that's what makes it escalate is our selfishness. This idea that you can't think the way you think. I think that's part of what the escalation process is. Because anytime somebody tells somebody else that you can't do it, somebody's being told what they can and can't do, and that's never going to go over well. If you tell somebody, like, you might feel righteous in your idea of saying, well, I feel this way, so you can't do that. That doesn't just then stop there. No, the person who you're being told can't do something, they start to feel infringed upon. They start to feel like they're not heard or validated, and that doesn't end well. That's usually what causes it to escalate, because that is no different than back in the day. Gay people feeling they couldn't come out and be gay and things of that nature, because they were going to be told that they were less than because of the way they felt about something. So you can't then turn around and do the exact same thing to other people and say, well, you're less than because you think this way or you feel this way. It's literally the same thing. And that's what I'm saying is it doesn't. That's what causes it to escalate. Whenever you try to control and make somebody else live up to your ideals or your expectations, that's what makes it escalate. The simple fact of somebody thinking negative things doesn't escalate shit. It just doesn't. It's the action. It's when you start to do something, and usually that action is precipitated by taking action against them, saying, "Well, you can't do this or you can't think this way." That's when it starts to escalate. The mere thought of negative things. Now, once again, I'm not trying to say that things shouldn't be illegal. Like you should be able to hurt somebody. No, those are laws and they should be in place and they should be enforced. I'm just talking about this weird selfishness, this self-righteousness, if you will, where people start to feel like their way is the only way, and anything else is less than or needs to be kind of put down. Like that's literally bullying, is what that is. Go ahead,
Right.
Larry.
Well, I mean, the question is, where do you draw the line, right? And I think when it goes from communication to physical, because and I know this belief is not a popular belief, um,
You're about to
but
get canceled.
I am under the belief that words don't matter,
No, they
uh,
don't.
as much as we make them matter. I think we want words to matter because we've been hurt. We want words to matter because some of us have very deep wounds based on simple words, based on
Right.
words, not based on physical, based on words. And so we have wanted to allow people's pain, to accept people's pain, so we can help them heal. So we've learned to talk like that and say, look, words do matter. Your pain is just as real, if not worse, than someone who suffered it physically. But the problem with that whole philosophy or that psychology is then what it does is makes every word subjectable. Every word now has to be processed through a filter. Every single word. For instance, just 2 months ago, or hell, just a month ago, they would say trigger warning. Just 1 month ago. Today, trigger warning is a
Is they what?
trigger. You are no longer allowed to say trigger warning. My point is that with words, it's never ending. So where I draw
Yeah.
the line is, as soon as we can't use words, as soon as you can't be in a conversation where I can say, look, dude, you're just an asshole. I don't like you. And you tell me you're just an asshole. I don't like you. And I say, I don't like you, Trinity, because you're some white dude with a big old beard. And I don't like white dudes that look like you with big old beards. And you
Right.
say, well, I don't like little Hispanic dudes that look like you. You look like a weasel. And we should be okay with, I don't care.
Yeah.
We should be okay with that. Instead of teaching us to grow thicker skin and acceptance of those kinds of words, I allow, you want to verbally hate me, verbally hate me. You want to verbally say, verbally, it's if you touch me or threaten, now it gets a little,
Yeah.
but I don't think a simple word is a threat. I think it's a threat when I say, dude, if you don't get out of my face, I am going to beat your ass. Now we're talking. You know what I mean?
And there's
So,
actually laws
so
for that.
and my point is that because all of you watching, as nice as you want to make it be, and as you, oh my God, Louis, you're crazy. I've seen you all on the road. And on the road, all of you are jerk offs. Most of you don't drive well on the road. Meaning, if somebody needs to cut in and you feel that's your space, you tighten it up. Come on, I do it too. I tighten it up sometimes too, based on what I've judged you as. If I judged you to be somebody that's trying to cut in line just to get in, I'm not letting you in. But if I judge you, you made an honest mistake, then I'll slow up, I'll hold traffic and let you in. Or if you're an elderly person or something like that, I'm gonna let you in. But if you look like some young little punk or something, and you look like you're messing, or you act like you don't see me and you're trying to move your car, I'm not letting you in. So I judge you, and my judgment upon you is I let you in or not. Now you might sit there and go, I let everyone in. No, you don't. I've seen all of you drive, and nobody has stood out to me that says that is the type of person that is good always on the road. There is no type of person. I can't say truckers, because truckers used to be great drivers, and now some of them tighten up real heavy, or they
Yeah.
go real fast behind people. Um, but our behavior out on the road teaches you a lot about how we really are. Our behavior when COVID hit and they said, we're running out of stuff, running out of supplies, and seeing how many of you stocked up on this and stocked up this and emptied those shelves. Come on, man. We are
Yeah.
all innately so selfish, and we're like, I'm going
Yeah.
to get all the toilet paper. I don't care about you at that moment. I'm going to get,
Yeah.
come on now. You didn't go buy a bunch of toilet paper and go give it to the homeless. You didn't do stuff. You didn't do that. You didn't go make masks and give it all to the homeless when masks first came out. That's not what happened. That all that niceness came out once you were already felt safe. Once you already felt like you have everything you need, then you started giving. But until that point, you were a squirrel. We all did it. We all did it.
Yeah, I think we only think selfishness isn't a problem as long as we're benefiting from it. selfishness is great as long as I'm benefiting from it. But if I'm not, then selfishness is bad. And that's my point.
Yeah.
Is depending on how you cut it, we're all not benefiting from something. And I think that that's where the problem lies. Is we spent so much time thinking about how I'm going to get mine or how I'm not getting mine that we stop thinking about how other people are going to get theirs. Marissa just said, I maintained the belief that we weren't in a shortage until it was announced that we were in a shortage. Everybody
Yeah.
freaking out created the shortage.
Yep.
Yeah, possibly,
Okay.
possibly. I mean, and that's where the selfishness came from.
Yeah.
Is
I was
everybody
late
was
to the
thinking,
party. Luckily, I already had
yeah,
enough, but I was late to the party.
yeah,
By the
same
time I
here.
went to the store, all y'all already went to the store and took it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, same here. I was already good, so I wasn't too bothered by that one. But
Yeah, there's
and
certain
that's the
things that we stay stocked up on, and that's one of them. I mean, I think you should always look. We're in a hurricane society, man. So
yeah,
there's certain things that we don't run out of: batteries, water, things like that.
yeah. Simon says it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, it usually is, man. Um,
Yeah,
but that's my point with just with selfishness, man. I think that we've gotten so far into this idea of selfishness and this self-importance and this whole like what I think matters. It doesn't. It matters to you and it matters to your family, but it doesn't matter to the world at large. And I don't mean that to be mean or whatever, but like I remember a very distinct conversation I had with my he's now 21. He was still living at the house, and he was I think he was like 16 or 17 at the time. I don't remember the exact age, but I remember the conversation because we were butting heads just a little bit because he didn't like some of the rules and regulations we had here at the house, and I looked at him and I was like, bro, who lied to you and told you that this is a democracy? Like, I don't care what you think or feel or want. It has no bearing on how I make my decisions here. And the look on his face was like I slapped his mother or something. Like, the thought never occurred to him that he doesn't make decisions in this house. And I said, but dude, look at it this way. You don't pay any bills. You weren't a part of obtaining this house, keeping it running, or doing anything here. All you're doing while you're here is taking. Which I get it, that's your role. But part of your role in taking is to not be the decision maker. So you don't have the right to make decisions. If you don't like the way I did something, I don't really care. I didn't make my decision based upon how it makes you feel. I'm doing what I think is best to run this little mini society I have here in the house. And sometimes that's not going to align with what you think. And I'm sorry for you, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm going to do what I think is best. That's why you decide to move out and go start your own little mini society and make your own decisions based upon what you think. But my point was just the idea that his input wasn't as valuable as my input never occurred to him. And he would always make up all these excuses here in the house for certain things that he wasn't able to do or whatever. And I kept trying to explain to him, dude, when you walk out that door, nobody cares. And he was like, my friends care. I was like, no, they don't. Your friends are going to care as long as it's convenient for them. They're not going to put themselves out. Nobody in your life is going to go live on the streets so you can take their home. And it just ain't going to happen, bro. They're going to help you, but they're not going to do without so you can have. It's just not going to work that way. Um, so I was like, dude, nobody cares. He's like, and it was hard for him to hear because, like, they do. We all have this weird self-importance where we think that we're just as important in everybody else's world as we are in our own. You're not.
no,
Like what you think just doesn't matter to everybody. It doesn't, and it shouldn't. To be honest with you, not everything we all have to say is that freaking important, man. It matters to those who it matters to, and that's fine. But this idea that we have to go around and make everybody else think or feel or do the things that we think or feel are right, it's just wrong. It's not going to happen. And the more you go around with that perspective and that basis, the more disappointed you're going to be every day. Because it's just not, no matter what they tell you, that's not what's going to happen. Right? Because even this woke stuff, don't get it twisted, guys. This woke thing that we're going through at the moment, it's a phase, and it'll go away. And some things will change, for sure. But the overwhelming majority of it, it's not going to change, man. People are going to say what they got to say to get everybody off their back, but don't think for 1 second that because you're not hearing things on news media or on YouTube or whatever it is, that all those opinions just stopped. No, they just stopped saying them out loud. They're still there. And so some of the same people making the same decisions and governing the same things are coming from the same perspective. They're just not doing it out loud anymore. And so you're never going to win that fight. It's just not going to happen. Not everybody's going to bend to what you think is important. And so this woke thing that we're going through, it's a phase. It's bothersome to me. It's annoying at times. I think it goes overboard. I see the need for it in certain areas, but I'm also not under any delusions that our whole entire world is going to just magically be different on the other side of this, because we've had it before. It was called political correctness back in the day. And that thing, and we all lost our minds. I think it was like, what, the 90s, I think, mid to late 90s. Everybody lost their minds and they thought political correctness. We had the same arguments that we have now. It's going too far and everything else. And then we went through a period of time where it completely went right back to where it was, and now we're back, but instead of calling it political correctness, we're calling it wokeness. So the point is, it's not going to change, because that's not how we're wired. We're not wired to do that. And so you got to kind of take an honest look at yourself, man, and realize, are you causing some of the problems in your life? Are you not getting some of the things the way you want them due to your own selfishness? Is it your selfishness that's causing some problems for you? Is it your inability to let people be who they're going to be? Is it your inability to not realize that you're not the most important person in the world? You're just one of many. And you got to earn your way like the rest of us. You're not entitled to anything. It's not all about you and what you want. Is that what's causing you problems? Maybe it is. Go for it? I know you had something.
No, no, I really agree. I like what you're saying. I think selfishness and entitlement is a big deal, and unfortunately, I think that there's too many young people that are being taught that it's okay to feel entitled, that you should be entitled, and why not? That this country offers this, and this country has this, and but entitlement is a psychological negative. It's not a positive. Yes, I want everyone to have as many people as possible. I want them to have, but they're not entitled to have. And as much as I'd like to expand my personal tribe, there's some tribe members that just don't cut it to me. So I don't want you in the tribe. I got to admit it. I mean, and I think that if we were to be honest, we all do that. We all have a circle, and yeah, we would like our circle to be wider, but when we get too wide, then people that don't deserve our trust or our the things that we offer them, it begins to hurt us, and it begins to attack the core. So you bring the circle back into tighter, and so there's a lot of people out there with a lot of wounds, and their circle is very, very, very tight. And the weird thing is, the people that seem to have the tightest little circle are the ones wanting everyone to trust them and accept them the most. And it's like, well, wait a minute, do you trust me? Do you accept me? Do you accept me for the things I say and the things that I do? And I don't want you to accept me just because I speak Spanish. I don't want you to accept me just because that I love the Mexican flag and the Puerto Rican flag and the American flag. I don't want you to accept me just because of that. That might bring us some things in common, and we may be able to do some jokes, and we have some understanding of how we each were raised, and we can laugh about all that stuff. But Trinity doesn't come from any of that, and I trust Trinity completely. And it's not that he earned my trust, is that I gave it to him as a gift, and he hasn't violated it, because I give my trust to all people, and if they violate it, they violate it, then I just don't give it again. But you don't have to earn anything with me. It's a gift. I give you the gift of everything. Like I think we all should do that. I think we all should just respect other people as a gift, and if they violate it, then you want to disrespect them. But I hear way too many people say, well, you got to give respect to get respect, or you got to give me respect to me to give you respect. And it's like, no, it's the opposite. You got to give respect to get respect. That is what the older people used to say. Not give me respect and I'll respect you. No, it's give respect to get respect. You know what I mean? There's so, and the sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, we used to teach that, and now we don't. Now it's every word has to be changed for you not to hurt me kind of deal. And I just think that when it comes to selfishness and entitlement, that we're moving in the wrong direction is a larger unit. But I agree with you. This is a pendulum swing. This is a temporary thing. This is unfortunately, it is a phase thing. And when I say unfortunately for the real reason it needs to exist. The real reason it needs to exist, unfortunately, will be missed. It'll be missed, because I think that the people that you were intending to change, the real racists, the real people that are harmful and evil on this planet, are not changing their minds based on what you're doing and saying. They're actually being entrained. You are actually proving to them why they should feel exactly the way they should feel.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing. The only people that the needle is moving for, the people that were kind of, they didn't even know they had a problem. They didn't even know they were as wishy-washy or negative or so insensitive or racially divided as they were. Now that middle, they're being moved around. But the actual polarities,
no.
like the far over here and the far over here, they don't change a damn bit based on any of this. So really, you're never approaching the people that you really need to approach.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna finish up with a story that we all kind of know, but I think it's taken a different meaning over the years, right? So the story that we all, I'm sure at some point we've heard or heard some variation thereof, was I think it was I want to say it was the ant and the grasshopper. So the ants were working all season long and storing away food and grabbing things, and the whole time they're doing that, the grasshopper was kind of just lounging around, chilling, minding his business, just enjoying life. And then eventually, when the winter came, the grasshopper couldn't have anything. He went to the ants, and the ants were able to help him and give him some of their stuff. And the takeaway for a lot of people in that story was to be a good person and help those less fortunate. What I think the takeaway should be is the grasshopper should have fucking earned it. The grasshopper, instead of sitting around doing nothing while they were working and taking care of themselves, he shouldn't have felt entitled to come to them and get a handout. What he should have been doing that entire time is either helping them or contributing as well. And that, to me, I think is where we've gone wrong. We've gone wrong to the point where we're no longer glorifying the people who are pragmatic, who are earning things, who are putting up value, who are contributing to society, contributing to those around them. We're instead now valuing the people who feel like, hey, I should be able to do nothing, get everything I want, because it's all about me. That, to me, is not the takeaway for this. The takeaway of that story is, you know what, maybe that grasshopper, instead of sitting around doing nothing, maybe he should have worked a little bit harder and contributed more. And then maybe he wouldn't have had to been a burden on them. Maybe he could have helped out. Maybe they could have a whole big happy family. But instead, what they didn't say in that story is some of those little ants might not have survived because every fruit that grasshopper ate, one of the baby ants couldn't. That's the point. That's why you got to pull your weight. None of us should sit around and feel entitled to things. You know, is it wonderful and fantastic that there's people out there who will give you things and will give a helping hand? Absolutely. We have our own foundation where we help those who are less fortunate. So I think there's always a room for that. But it's much in the same way where I feel completely different holding the door open for somebody that says thank you versus somebody that says you're damn right. You know, if you expected me to do it, like it's my job, it's my duty in life to open this door for you, I'm instantly going to have a little bit of a problem with that. But if you're grateful and realize that, you know what, I went out my way to do something nice for you, it's a whole different meaning. I'll do it anyways, but I'm going to walk away with a different thought process depending on what you did. So I think that's all I got for today, guys. Once again, thank you everybody for listening. If you got some value out of this, by all means, share it. It benefits us. We need more eyeballs and more ears. If you guys are watching this, make sure you subscribe, things of that nature. If not, I think that's all we got. So I appreciate everybody, and now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.